about Joe Burrow's love of fossils. The Steelers certainly love their living fossil, Aaron Rodgers, who has taken them to the playoffs. I say that, he's like 6 years younger than me, but anyway, I'm not still playing football. The Steelers travel to Cleveland to play the Browns, and the schedule makers would have hoped that the AFC North would have still been a little bit tighter coming down the stretch, because you have Steelers Browns this weekend. You then have Steelers Ravens next weekend. That could still end up being a dead rubber, depending on how the Ravens get on in Lambeau the previous evening. And when the Steelers get to play the Browns in Cleveland, that might be done and dusted. They're already likely to have qualified for the playoffs, as other results may well have put them there. Steelers over the past couple of weeks obviously have put behind them the Mike Tomlin, the fire Tomlin chants and the booing of Renegade that we saw a couple of weeks ago. We talked about what a difference just a couple of weeks make. They've been rolling. They've had 3 games on the spin. I thought their victory against the Lions didn't age as well as I thought it might, since the Vikings then downed the Lions the following week and slightly devalued the Steelers' own victory. They'll be without DK Metcalf for this game, obviously, and for the next game after he was suspended for his altercation with a Lions fan on the sidelines. That one hasn't yet run its course. That Lions fan is certainly milking his 15 minutes of fame for everything that they're worth, and it's going to cause a little bit more trouble for DK. Boy, if the Steelers had that one over again, would they really have traded for DK Metcalf and let George Pickens go out the door? They, might have thought that they'd saved themselves a problem. Instead, they created a monster in Dallas and gained themselves a monster of their own in DK Metcalf, who has shown up at times, and we saw him to brilliant effect in Dublin, but has also shown up in too many of the negative ways this season. The Browns defense continues to ball out week in, week out, and I think they'll obviously be fighting for their boy Myles Garrett this week, who's still searching for that record sack. Who would bet against him getting it against Aaron Rodgers while he's at it? It's the Browns offense that, well, they held in there last week and they only went down narrowly, but if they can get anything going, this has the feeling of what could be a trap game for the Steelers. I mean, wouldn't Cleveland love to bloody their nose as they head towards the playoffs? It's probably the last thing that the Browns can do that will give them a real lift. Get Myles Garrett's sack record, stop the Steelers winning the division this week, leave the Steelers having to face the Ravens next week with everything still on the line. I think from a neutral's perspective, no offense to Steelers fans, that's kind of what we'd like to see happen. I don't, however, think that it will happen, because that Browns offense has just struggled so mightily to move the ball. Shedeur Sanders has shown flashes of the player that he and his dad certainly believe he can be. I'm not so sure if he's still the guy that you want to rely on at this point, but he's got a shot to nothing this weekend. Might be a little bit closer than the Steelers' 4.5 points that the bookies are giving them suggests, but I still do think they will come out the right side of it. Shane.
It was interesting watching the Browns-Bills game last week, and I was like, the Bills came out hot at the start, put up a lot of points, and then what happened was Josh Allen's foot got injured, and it meant that the Bills' offense couldn't actually do a whole lot more, and the Browns sort of slowly kept coming back in. But I was struck in that first half. I was like, hang on, where's this Browns defense that everyone keeps talking about? They were supposed to really stand up strong at home against an AFC rival coming in, and like the bad start there really sort of usurped their chances to win against the Bills, because Rodgers and Co managed to have a pretty decent second half. So I think that's an area which you're going to have to stand up on. And look, if there's any type of game that the Browns are going to win, it's going to be at home against the team in which their fans despise the most, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the kind of game which you can really cheer yourself up for. Look, the Steelers come to this in the back of a 3-game win streak. Their CD defense got a lot of sacks, and Dylan Gabriel and these teams faced off in week 6. Now, and not much has changed on the offensive line there. Shedeur might be a bit more nimble to get away from those sacks in comparison to Dylan Gabriel, I think. But just look at how efficient the Steelers' offense has been. We were talking about earlier about how inefficient the Ravens have been in a lot of key moments. Is the Steelers have just been really, really ruthless in making the most of every chance they have. Kenneth Gainwell has been a real revelation. We saw him in Dublin, and then he went quiet for a few weeks. He's had 5+ receptions in 5 of the last 6 games. He's been really strong in the run game. Himself and Jaylen Warren have become a lot more explosive in the types of runs they've been able to get going, and also in key moments like we saw against Detroit last week. And Aaron Rodgers as well. I mean, Yeah, I know you made the the fossil remark earlier on, but I mean, if if he's actually thrown 5 touchdowns for no interceptions in the last 3 games, that's a pretty tidy piece before you put it on the museum shelf, and that's the reason why he's been able to put up over 27 points in 4 of the last 4 games. So yeah, I think the Steelers have it all there. They know they will know the meaning of this. Now, look, by the time this game actually comes around, the Ravens might already be knocked out of the race for the AFC North, in which case the Steelers might decide to start resting some players really early rather than wait until next week to rest them, because they just don't need it. Like their only real chance of improving their seeding is for some way that they manage to get the 3rd seed rather than the 4th seed by virtue of whoever wins the AFC South, dropping a couple of games at the end. And I'm just not quite sure how much we can really expect that to happen, and whether the Steelers are going to hedge their bets for that. They'd rather protect Aaron Rodgers and a couple of the players. I mean, TJ Watt is coming to this on the back of injury. He's questionable. I can't imagine they'll play him at all in the next 2 games if they come into this 50-50. So that really depends on what happens in that Ravens game as to how strong they will push themselves to be. But I just see the Steelers as being as really getting motoring on that offensive side of things. Even their defense might still struggle, and who knows what Shador and Co might be able to get going. But I just I like what Gainwell and the Steelers offense and Rodgers in particular when it comes to just being able to manage games, and is pure accuracy. I really question his athleticism coming into the season, or whether he would have the stamina to last. But his accuracy hasn't gone. It really hasn't, and that accuracy, especially in key pressure moments when he has the mentality to fight through that, as he's proven for so long in this league, really counts for a lot. Again, as we saw against Detroit. So I think I like the Steelers in this one. Maybe that 4.5 point spread is a bit much. I agree with you, Conor, but I like the Steelers to win this one.
If you're going to watch this one, and indeed if you fancy watching Red Zone anywhere other than the comfort of your own home, and you're at that point where you want to venture out, can we, of course, recommend the Arlington in Dublin? It's one of the best places you could possibly choose to do so. It might be nice to eat something other than turkey and ham as well. I can highly recommend the Arlington food offer too. Shout out to them and Kieran and the team who've been so good to us this season, and we hope they've enjoyed a very good festive break themselves and are right back into it now. Kieran, how do you see Steelers Browns before we get to Saints Titans?
Well, if the Ravens game plays out the way we've said, and as Shane alluded to, the Steelers start resting players, including Aaron Rodgers, how much would Myles Garrett love to break the sack record against Mason Rudolph? Given their history, given their spicy background, I think it's 6 years since there was a helmet thrown, and it was a costly moment. So I think Myles Garrett wouldn't mind for that to play out that way. But I see the Steelers coming away with it. I think they're riding a bit of momentum at the moment, and I think they get through this one.
Well, we'll push down the throttle and quick pick Saints Titans. I'm going for Saints on the road in this one, Shane.
Firstly, I hope that Charlie Smith is playing this one. I think he was listed as questionable heading into this one, but either way, I'm going for the Saints to get a victory here.
Kieran?
Yeah, Saints, keep rolling.
Right, it's the Florida Bowl next as the Bucs travel from Tampa Bay to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Bucs 5.5 point favourites in this one, Kieran, even though they've lost 3 in a row, and have Todd Bowles looking increasingly angry both on the sideline and in his post-game press conferences.
Yeah, like there's not a huge amount to say on this game from my point of view, except that the Bucs just absolutely have to stop the rot. It's as simple as that. Like Miami have nothing to play for. Okay, they hung in there longer than we gave them credit for at the start of the season. Mike McDaniel hung in there a lot longer than I gave him credit for at the start of the season. And they've been playing a little bit tougher over the last number of weeks. They've been stout on defense, but this is all about the Bucs and the fact that just by virtue of the fact that they play in the South, they still have a chance to win the division. I mean, they've got one. Like I saw, I think it was on NFL.com, where I saw a good line: the healthier they got this season, the worse they've played.
So true.
We've talked about, Mike Evans is coming back, Chris Godwin is coming back, Emeka Ibuka is back, and every time we talk about players coming back, they've let down. And unfortunately, and I talk about waxing lyrical. The first 9 weeks, Baker Mayfield was on an MVP run. And since then, his production, again, we talk about plummeting, he's absolutely just in free fall at the moment in terms of what he's been able to accomplish. And just by virtue of the fact that they still have so much to play for, because Baker is he is a gutsy kind of, he's a fighter, and you do find him capable of, I do figure that he's capable of coming out of this slump.
And we should make the point, and I know we get to this game, but just for context, the Panthers play the Seahawks, so the Bucs have that in the back of their mind going into this one.
Yeah, and I think that, look, we're going to get to the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are just a formidable opponent for the Panthers. It's just a huge opportunity for them to swing momentum in their favor again. Rashad White and Bucky Irving are back healthy. I mean, there's no reason why the Bucs should lose this game. And so as bad and as unreliable as they've been, I'm going to almost quick pick this one and give it to the Bucs.
Yeah, I found myself doing that smug thing that you do when your team actually starts to look dangerously good again. And I was looking at the Dolphins going, man, it'd be amazing if the Dolphins decided to tear everything down to the studs. I could really see Jordan Brooks being a great addition to the Bears if it was possible to winkle him loose. But the point is that Jordan Brooks and maybe Jalen Waddle are one of only couple of Dolphins that you can count on that have actually had a really good season this season. I mean, it's been so poor. And if there is a get-right game on the schedule right now, it is Miami, as the Bengals showed last week when they just absolutely put them to the sword. If it's not now, then it's never for Tampa Bay. The season all rides on this, and I don't think they could hope to have a better away game at this time of the season. It's not cold, it's in-state, they don't have to go too far, and it's against a team that has absolutely checked out. And as you say, I don't know who's more surprised, the Dolphins or Mike McDaniel, that he's still in that job. He may not keep it in the off season, and I don't expect the Bucs to do anything to help him pad his resume in this one. It's Tampa Bay all the way from me. Shane.
Is there a world where players on the Miami team play really good to try and, maybe prove to the new general manager that a trade for Lamar Jackson might be something they should consider in the future? Could this be the game that they come forward and play really, really strong against a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who are in free fall, against a Baker Mayfield who has thrown so many uncatchable passes? I think it was PFF said he has the highest uncatchable pass rate in the NFL since week 7. No, the Bucs are going to win this game.
Shane, I hate to do this to you, but it's a quick pick for your Patriots against the Jets. We just don't have time to burn on this one, as the Patriots are already home and host of the Jets. Less said about them, the better. It's Patriots in this one. They're 12.5-point favourites, incidentally, by the way, so nobody seems to have a huge amount of hope that this one is going to be competitive. Shane?
Yeah, Patriots can claim the first AFC East title in 7 seasons by winning this one, and I surely expect them to do so.
Kieran?
Yeah, no shocks here. Patriots.
All right, quick break.